All right, there was an article out by Dennis Lin today mentioning someone in the Padres organization and one of the former Padre greats in this organization. If we're basing it off of who has won things and who has helped take the Padres to places that it rarely gets to. And that's Carlos Hernandez. Dennis Lin in The Athletic writing a piece that Carlos Hernandez is interested in being the next manager of the San Diego Padres. I want to see the San Diego Padres win a championship, Hernandez told The Athletic on Monday. And man, I got too close as a player, and even here too as a broadcaster, but I want to make it as a manager. This is not something I was expecting to see. Carlos Hernandez putting his hat in the ring for manager when he works in the Padres organization. He hasn't, it was put in this article that he hasn't like communicated this to AJ Preller, but he works in, I'm sure he has AJ Preller's number. I'm sure he can go talk to AJ if he was really serious about this. It's just weird to me that this is how he's announcing that he wants to be the Padres manager is through Dennis Lin and The Athletic. Like, if I wanted to actually be the manager, I would go have a conversation with AJ Preller. I'd have a conversation with Eric Krupner, John Seidler. I would have definitely Preller, Josh Stein. I would go have a conversation with somebody in the organization that you have access to. I'd be shocked if Carlos Hernandez didn't have access to AJ Preller or didn't have access to Josh Steiner, didn't have access to Eric Grupner, you know? I was reading in The Athletic here, 14th season, Hernandez recently completed this past season as the Padres' primary color analyst on the Spanish language television and radio broadcasts. Played with the Dodgers, played with the Padres, played with the Cardinals, obviously was the catcher for the Padres on that 1998 team. He managed the Toros in the Mexican Summer League postseason in 2004, worked the next 3 years as a catching coordinator for the Padres, served as a winter ball manager in Venezuela from 2006 to 2008, was a catching coordinator for the D-backs from 2010 to 2013. That's the extent of Hernandez's coaching experience professionally. 2013 was a long time ago. The game has changed since 2013. It's 2025. Now, the good thing with Carlos Hernandez is he has kept up with the game, obviously. Like, it's his job. He's around the players. He's around this team day in, day out. He's bilingual. That could help. But am I taking Carlos Hernandez seriously as a manager candidate for the Padres? No, I'm not. I don't even know if he's going to get an interview. Maybe Preller gives him an interview to be nice, but like, I just don't see how Carlos Hernandez is going to go from being in the broadcast booth to managing the Padres. When they could go with Bruce Bochy, they could go with, I'm not saying they would go, that they're going to go with Bochy, but they could. They could go with even Ryan Flaherty. They could go with Ruben Niebla. They could go with Brian Esposito, who, by the way, talked with the Padres on Monday. So he's the bench coach. And there's not a lot of talk about Brian Esposito being the next manager of the team. I think that's because we don't know as much about him as Ruben. We don't see Brian Esposito walk out to the mound every night. We see Ruben Niebla make the mound visits. Ruben talks to the media. We don't really hear about Brian Esposito's thoughts to Kevin AC or something like that. The only time he's talked is when he has to fill in for Mike Schilt when Schilt gets ejected. But Schilt, I think, sometimes even does the post-game pressers when that happens. So I think Espo, he talked a couple times this season, post-game. He may have done if Schilt got suspended this past season, he may have done one pregame. But we just don't know a ton about him. But when I have heard him talk, at least from what I remember, I'm like, yeah, guy knows his stuff. There's a reason why he's the bench coach of the team. So I would give him a fair shot. I'm putting him right up there with Ruben Niebla. And that might be the better option to have Brian Esposito be the manager over Ruben Niebla. Not because Ruben can't do it, but you'd be losing Ruben as the pitching coach. But how would Ruben feel about it? Would he publicly, he'd be like, yeah, really happy for Espo, great, deserves it. But if they go with Espo over Ruben, let's say Ruben wants the job, how is Ruben going to feel about that? Is he then going to want to just jump to any team that, wants him to be their manager? Does he jump to another team to be the pitching coach? Because he's like, well, if the Padres aren't going to make me the manager here, They just picked another guy on the staff. Do I really want to stay here? I mean, they could obviously go the Albert Pujols route. The Angels, by the way, today they picked Kurt Suzuki, which would kind of be like AJ Ellis, right? Because Kurt Suzuki was with the Angels, former catcher. AJ Ellis with the Padres, special assistant to Preller, already in the org, and maybe he becomes the next manager. Mark Loretta has been mentioned. He was mentioned by Dennis Lin in this piece today, as was Ruben Niebla. Um, Carlos Hernandez did mention like the Bob Brenly route, how Bob Brenly managed the D-backs. He's a broadcaster right now for the D-backs. I'm not a fan of Bob Brenly's, but he did connect those two. What anything else that is noteworthy in this? He said that with the Padres, he is willing to coach if he doesn't get the managing job. I'm reading this from Dennis. Hernandez said he had not yet contacted AJ Preller to directly share his interest in the team's opening, which to me, I just don't understand. Why would you put it out in public in the Athletic, but not talk to AJ about it? Is this so other teams know that you're interested in managing? So, or at least, well, he's saying here that the only team that he would coach would be the Padres, and he'd manage somewhere else, but not coach. But is that why you would do this? So other teams, so the Rockies know that maybe you'd want to manage? I don't know why you'd put it out here and not be talking to AJ about it. He said he would be open to discussing similar aspirations with any other big league club seeking a manager. For now, San Diego is the only team for which he would consider serving in a non-managerial coaching position. And then he said, and if I have to stay doing my broadcasting, I will stay there. Some potential and previously reported candidates for the Padres opening have yet to hear from the team. Club sources said the interview process began Monday, with at least bench coach Brian Esposito speaking with the team decision makers. As ESPN first reported, Pujols, who is no longer considered a candidate for the Angels job, obviously this was before Kurt Suzuki was hired when this article was put out, scheduled the interview on Wednesday, so tomorrow. Others who could interview in the near future, if they haven't already, include Niebla and Mark Loretta. Hernandez would like to at least explore the possibilities. He says, I'm ready for it. I was not a superstar. I know that, but I played the game right. This is what I want people to do. It's something that I would like to see myself doing. Carlos, sure, you're a great guy. You know baseball, but there's a lot of other people that would like to be managing too. They'd like to see themselves managing too. In the spot the Padres are at, and like Carlos, he's knowledgeable about the team, obviously. Like he knows what he's talking about. But where they're at, I feel like you go with someone that's in the dugout. It's different being in the broadcast booth. Someone who's in the dugout night in, night out already, whether it's with the Padres or with another organization, someone like that. But you could be like, well, Ben, why would you go with Albert Pujols then? Pujols has played more recently than Carlos Hernandez, and he was a special assistant with the Angels. So I think he's dialed in there. And maybe it's an age thing. I don't know. And maybe it's just the name that I would be like, yeah, go with Albert over Carlos Hernandez. The coaching experience that was put in this article by Dennis, it doesn't stand out to me that much. Like it's cool, but that was a while ago. And the game has definitely changed. And, Pujols, like that would be a risk. Carlos Hernandez would definitely be a risk too. Pujols isn't even number one on my list anyway. So I guess I'd just be picking between guys that aren't even the guy that I want. But Carlos Hernandez, I just don't see this happening. I see this as Dennis maybe was doing Carlos a solid for other teams in baseball that might want to consider Carlos Hernandez, or at least so he could get an interview. Was Carlos like afraid to ask AJ for an interview? I just don't understand the point of putting it out here and then being like, yeah, I haven't talked to AJ about it, but I'd like to be the manager. Okay. I don't know. A little weird. But that's the news of the day, is that Carlos would like to be the next manager of the team. But again, who I think the Padres should talk to. Already talked to Espo, great. Talk to Ben Fritz, talk to Ruben Niebla. Those are the three on the coaching staff right now that I'd be like, yep, got go talk to them. Bochy, talk to him. Scott Service, talk to him. He's in the organization. Talk to Nick Hundley, who I think lives in San Diego. Talk to AJ Ellis. Mark Loretta. What gives me pause there is he's a special assistant under Grupner and not AJ. I want AJ and this next manager to be connected. Um, Talk to David Ross. Talk to Rocco Baldelli. Those are the names that stick out to me at the moment. I don't see Ryan Flaherty happening. I feel like there was the opportunity there, and either Preller got overruled or he actually did agree to go in a different direction. So why would they go hire Ryan Flaherty now? Any other names? A couple names that are floating in my head. I don't know if they're interested in managing, but it's guys that know about the game. And one of those guys that comes to mind is Nick Markakis. I don't think that I haven't seen anything where he's like, yeah, I want to be a manager one day, but it's a former Manny teammate and it's someone that was in Major League Baseball for a long time. That's a name just literally just popped into my head right now. So call me stupid, but I don't really care. Like that just popped into my head for some reason. I was thinking about the Orioles. Would they talk to Buck Showalter? I don't know. I don't think that that would go over well with some guys in the clubhouse. So I don't see him being the next manager. Would they go talk to Bud Black? I didn't think the relationship probably was that great between Preller and Bud Black because Preller let Bud Black go in 2015. But then I was looking up pictures the other day and I saw him smiling with Bud Black during batting practice when Bud Black was the manager of the Rockies. So maybe their relationship's fine and they'd give it another go with Bud Black. Bud Black, I feel like he can be a good manager if he has a good team. It wasn't fair that he had to be the manager of the Rockies of that piece of trash. Because I mean that's what it is with the Rockies. Like you don't have a shot to win. You just don't. So would they do that? I don't think so, but who knows? Yadi Molina, talk to Yadi because he's already put out there on Instagram that he has an interest in managing. So yeah, go talk to Yadi. Coaching staff, that was something that was brought up with the Angels and Pujols. You have to keep Niebla, have to keep Ben Fritz. Padres probably would want Espo to stay, but like they think of him high enough to be interviewing him. But that's more because I don't know a ton about Espo. That would be like we prefer you to keep him, but if not, we'll offer him another role in the organization, or he'll just go somewhere else, obviously. Anyone else that sticks out? I don't think so. Would they go with someone? Would they go the college route? There's obviously the rumors with the San Francisco Giants and the Tennessee head coach, who obviously has some of the best players in the nation. If you're the Padres, would you go after Tim Corbin, the Vanderbilt coach? Guys, he's had a ton of talent. He's won a lot of games. College is different than the pros, obviously, but he's been on those MLB Network draft broadcasts. I see him on there every year. If you want to go a different route, someone who has won a lot, I know it's not in the big leagues, but he's won a lot there at Vandy. Would you give him a call and at least talk to him? Those are the two names, the Tennessee head coach, the Vandy head coach. Those are the two names that would stick out in the college baseball world. But yeah, well, it's going to be interesting. We'll see where this search goes. It's the Padres, so things are going to pop up almost every day, some things that you don't even expect. And this was one of those. Carlos Hernandez expressing interest in being the next manager of the Padres. Should I go tell Dennis Lin or Kevin Acee that I want to manage the Padres and have an article written about it. It was weird. You have access to AJ. Go talk to AJ. Why would you put the why put it out there and then you're like, I haven't talked to AJ about it yet though. So that was a little weird.